Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Always enjoy time when we have to sit down together with our good friend, Bob Just. Bob is a political commentator, obviously. He comments on anything political. Just tell him something or ask him something when he's there. He's also the founder of Concerned Families. He's a writer for Fox News, American Thinker, WorldNet Daily. And one of these days, his party will leave him. He won't leave it. Anyway, welcome, Bob. Oh, by the way, he's got a new website. We're going to talk about this. Gen2project.org. And there's a picture of the landing page. Gen, G-E-N, 2 project.org. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Hey, Bob, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Good to be here. Thank you, Perry. Yes, right. Until I won't give up until the last Democrat votes Republican.
Well, I look, your party's leaving you, and you're not leaving.
A long time ago.
Yeah, you're not leaving it, but it's leaving you. And you know what's interesting?
Just trying to persuade them to vote Republican. That's the main thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's just some.
The only way to heal the party. It's the only way for Democrats to just boycott the party until they wake up.
But you know what's happening to your party? It's splitting down the middle. It's dividing. When you have Bill Maher saying that, yes, NPR and public television needs to be defunded and calls them the radical left. Bill Maher calling NPR the radical left. You're dividing. Yeah,
good. Because honestly, the people forget, young people don't even know this mostly, that the Democrats controlled the House for 50 years after the Roosevelt era. And Republicans didn't regain the House until 1994. So you imagine the Democrats controlled the purse strings in this country for 50 years. Okay, we need, and I'm a voting Republican. I'm a Democrat, but I'm a voting Republican. So when I say we, I mean we patriots, we America lovers, we conservatives. We need control of the House for 50 years. I mean, I don't say 4 more years, Perry. I say 40 more years.
Okay.
Because the hard left, the ones that are making us all crazy, including regular Democrats, have got to just be left behind, made irrelevant. My party needs to move on from socialism and leftism and anti-family, pro-death. I mean, it needs to move on from the craziness that has grabbed hold of it in the last 40 so years.
Okay. All right, let's shift over to some polls. And I know that this is also a passion of yours, but some of the polls now are showing that young men are tired of being looked at as buffoons. And they're slowly shifting away from the Democrat Party. That sounds very political, but basically what they're shifting away from is the nonsense. What do you think's driving this trend?
I think, look, I think men in general, but I think young men particularly, youth seems to see with clearer eyes once they start to realize they've been lied to. And that's what's been going on. I think young Democrats are waking up from a lie, that the Democratic Party is the party that cares about you, which is the predominant lie. And by the way, the message of my party against Republicans is Republicans don't care about you. So it's like mom saying your father doesn't care about you. It's causing a split in the family. And I think a lot of young Democrats have woken up and realized, no, wait a minute. I think it's the Republicans that care about me. It's the Republicans that honor the struggles I'm going through, and the Republicans that want to create a good future, not just setting policies that'll make them look good for the next election. Look what Trump's doing on tariffs, right? What is his agenda? It's not the next election. His agenda, young people should care about, and that is to change America 10 and 15 and 20 years from now when they're going to be coming into their own. So it's a perfect message for youth. But the gender issue particularly, Perry, I'll get back to that because after all, that's what Gen 2 Project .org is about. It's a dating, courting, marrying, parenting site that is rooted in what I taught at Alliance University, Nyack College in New York City. And one of the big problems that you and I have been talking about on the Dove, amazing Dove, the platform that has been speaking truth to Christians and to non-Christians for so many decades, trying to get us to understand the cultural negativity and the political negativity that's been slowly choking this country. Well, speaking of a particular part of that, and that is the anti-traditional marriage, anti-traditional family, anti-traditional woman, and traditional man. That is one of the primary agendas of the culture, and of course, the culture is the voice of the Democratic Party. And so, young people, young men, but I think women, women are going to come along. Young women are going to come along, are realizing that they've been disrespected, and they're sick and tired of it. And you and I've spoken about this for years. Watch the average ad on television. They make men look ridiculous because they're marketing to women. So the key is women have to get fed up with their men being made to look ridiculous. And so I think that might be what's happening now.
Okay, before I leave this subject and go to Gen 2, there's another part of this. Do you think women, as they were being used to maybe to believe that men are buffoons and are weak, or they wanted to unmasculize them and feminize them, they forgot something, and that is women want to feel safe. And they don't feel safe if they have a weak man.
Yes, that's right. They don't feel safe if they have a weak man. They instinctively they want a good man who will be faithful, be a good dad to their children, and protect them and keep the family strong. And the culture lies to young women, and it's a culture obviously primarily targets the youth. And the culture has created an image of what men should look for in women and what women should look for in men. And it's a complete lie. It's all focused on superficial things, body, beauty, power, money. And young people increasingly, one of the big lies connected to marriage, Perry, that too many young people believe, is that you have to be rich to get married. In other words, the key is finding the right person. And in a Christian context, which is my class, Gen 2 project is focused on Christians. Non-believers are welcome, and hopefully they'll learn from it, but it's focused on Christians. And the key is finding a good man or a good woman that will adhere to biblical guidance and remain faithful. You know what? You can be poor and do that in this country because, poor is relative. What do we mean by poor? I mean, just struggling along in life like so many people do, because we still have free education. Now, once we fix education, which has been your agenda and my agenda for a long time. Once we have school choice, once we are actually teaching patriotism, teaching basics that create a strong, educated young mind, once we have that, well, you can be a poor family and your kids can go to a pretty good school once we get free choice, school choice, because the unions have ruined the schools, the public schools. But once we fix that, you can struggle along, but you can raise strong children, poor but honest. They can go to school and excel at school. They can work hard on their homework. But the key is a mom and dad who love them, a mom and dad who will stay together and make the children the central part of life. As the Bible says, there are arrows in a parent's quiver. The beauty of what God made in a family, goodness gracious, we live in a free country. And if you so the cult, the idea that women have to find a rich man, you end up creating tragedy in your life because you'll find a man who's successful, you'll be impressed with his success, and you'll forget that it's his character as a man and as a husband and as a father is what matters, and centrally around Christ, around the faith.
Okay. Let me just set this up real quick. So what prompted Gen 2 project? What is this?
Well, it's been thank you for that question, Perry. It's been a lifelong journey. As I talk about in the seminar, that's the 90-minute seminar that's connected to gen2project.org. It's a lifelong journey. It has to do with how old I am and when I grew up and how I grew up and what I've learned over the years of being a talk show host and being involved in many things. So it's an effort to people who remember that country when men and women were respected as different creatures with different gifts, two marvelous creatures, but different and designed to go together in a certain way. Well, this country used to respect that. When the Cultural Revolution came along, that was thrown out the window, and we need to reclaim that. So what triggered it, again, it's a lifelong journey. So I've been thinking about this and talking about it on the air, as you know, for many, many years, talking about the attack on men and the attack on women. And then I'm on the prayer team of Redeemer Eastside, Tim Keller's founding church in New York City. And right before COVID, our prayer team leader wrote an email grieving about the lies that even Christian young people had believed. And so Christian young men were pressuring Christian young women for sex, premarital sex. And so the call was for prayer about this, but I read that email and I thought, I've got to do something. So I started recruiting people to the vision of Gen 2 Project because it has to be a youth movement, youth that are tired of the lies of the culture and want to come together with other youth who specifically want to date, court, and marry and have children and build a life, make a life, the traditional way, the biblical way. And so when you have a gathering of people like that, wonderful things can happen. So I started recruiting people for that. And then COVID came. And then just to finish this quick story, I was having, by God's blessing, a conversation with the president of Alliance University, Nyack College, a 100-year-old college, Christian college in New York City. And he heard what I was doing, and he was so impressed with it. He said, here, take one of our classrooms. You need to teach this. And so that's how it started. And this video I shot, and thank you to Edgewater Christian Fellowship in Grants Pass, to their video team, and to Pastor Mark Skudstad, because I presented this as a possibility when I was out there last summer, and they got all on board and said, this is good for everybody. I taught it to a 50s plus crowd, but obviously it's primarily directed to young people. My class was basically for people in their 20s and 30s, but we put on the seminar at Edgewater Christian Fellowship last August, and then this video that's embedded in the gen2project.org website is the result of that. And we just finished it a few days ago, Perry. We got the website up last night.
So what you can do, you can actually watch the whole 90-minute video and be a part of this. Go to gen and then the number 2 project.org. There it is. And you can click on the video and learn from this. There it is, gen2project.org. And take advantage of this. And I think the other thing is, after you watch it, bicycle it. What I mean by that is share it. Send that link on to other people. All right, let me take a quick break. We come back. I have some other things to talk to Bob about, if you can imagine that. gen2project.org. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome Welcome back. Bob Justice with us. Always good to have him. And Bob is of course, you can see all of his writings sometimes at Fox News or American Thinker. Certainly he writes for WorldNet Daily. And he is also the founder of Concerned Families, which is an amazing movement throughout the country. And his latest project, where you can go and watch a 90-minute video about the family, about marriage, is called Gen2project.org. And there's a picture of that. You might want to watch that and share it with others. Gen, Gen, 2project.org. Bob, maybe, I don't know if Scott can get this, but are you listening in there, Scott? You know the video that we ran yesterday of Rush talking about the courts? I don't know if you still can grab that. Let me know if you get it. But anyway, the question I have for you, Bob, is are we in a judicial crisis?
Yeah, we are. We are, because increasingly the left is using judgeships at whatever level, all the way up to the Supreme Court justices, but they're using it purely as a political ploy, not about justice. They're overreaching at the lower federal level, which is what you're talking about. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and I feel fairly confident that the Supreme Court will make a serious correction of that situation. But it goes, Perry, to the fact that my party has lost its moral core. So it takes the communists, the old communist view that, the ends justify the means, so that anything and we've talked about this for how many decades, right? Yeah. That the Dove is such a wonderful platform in terms of just explaining the spiritual struggle behind quote unquote politics. But once you have an attitude that you're so right that you can use any method, legal, illegal, moral, immoral, to win, you've changed into something other than an American party, because this is an under God country. Yeah. Okay, that's who we are. Our rights come from God. We as a country have always recognized that there's a higher authority than government.
Okay, so
for the left, government is God.
Let me play this clip for you. Now, we're dealing with a lower court district judge trying to preempt the authority of the President of the United States. That is a judicial crisis, okay? And there doesn't seem to be anything in the middle of this to stop it at the moment, other than the Supreme Court saying no. But it may end up with a reform coming out of Congress on what the authority is of the lower courts. But let's go back 5 years. 5 years, this was a struggle. When President Trump was doing his first term, Rush Limbaugh was alive, and he commented on it, and here's what he had to say. Listen to this.
These are not judges. These are liberal activists who work as judges. They wear the robes of judges, but they are not judges. They are not judging the law. They are there to implement the liberal agenda. Conservatives don't see it that way. They don't see that they're there to implement a conservative agenda. They're there to judge the law. And conservatives think that they are really, really great when they decide cases against themselves, because that proves their fairness and that proves their open-mindedness. The liberal judge doesn't give a rat's rear end what anybody thinks of him, and he certainly doesn't care whether you think he's fair or not. He is there to decide the liberal answer on every case. The liberal decision, the preferred liberal outcome, is the only reason. That is what liberal judicial philosophy is.
That was 5 years ago. It's a little stunning. He's kind of like you. He can take a very complicated issue and make it simple. But the point,
thank you.
But the point being is,
God bless Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, but the point is, what other conclusion can you come out of this than this one, when a judge wants us to bring back rapists and murderers and put them back on the street? What other conclusion can you come to?
None. Rush nailed it, as he always did. And we're dealing with judicial tyranny. You know, that's it. We're dealing with judicial tyranny. It really goes back to the separation church and state decision in 1947, which was called by some judicial tyranny. They had no Supreme Court precedents to make that decision. And so what they claimed was some letter that Jefferson wrote. I mean, it was not. And before that, we were generally considered a Christian nation. We were an under God Christian nation. But the progressive movement, you know, this all relates, Perry, as you know, to the progressive movement, which was was against the concept of an under God America, was against the Declaration of Independence, which of course gave us the right to write the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Without the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution would have been a lawless document. Okay, and it also took a war, obviously. So, but this atheist movement we use the word progressive, but the progressive movement is a secular / atheist movement. And so they don't recognize the normal order. And the Democrats, by the way, you Republicans have suffered under this for as long as I can remember. The Democrats have a tremendous strategic advantage over Republicans because Republicans are trying to preserve the system. The Democrats don't mind if they destroy the system. So they'll make threats. They'll say, either you do this or we'll detonate the system. We'll pack the Supreme Court. We'll do this. We'll do that. It's a tremendous kind of strategic tactical advantage. Republicans have tried to protect the country and protect our system. So anyway, this is just another example of the party.
So do you
what it does?
Do you sense that the left, the liberals, are auguring in their unwinding? I mean, America is waking up. I mean, if you think about it, President Trump was reelected with a huge electoral college, but he also got the popular vote by a significant margin. So he does have a mandate to change things. To your earlier point, young men are tired of being stepped on and walked over and told that they're a bunch of doofus, and being lied to. So something is shifting. And then you have this president in less than 100 days rocking the boat unlike anything we've ever seen before. And the left can't seem to get any traction on any issue. They couldn't even do it with Signalgate, since they gave it that name. And they can't seem to do it with anything. And you got Bill Maher saying that NPR needs to go. Something's happening here.
Something is happening. And you notice that they have trouble criticizing the bombing of Tesla cars, the firebombing of Tesla showrooms, etc. Some of the more mainstream ones speak out against it, but it's without passion. They're not outraged. And they should be outraged. Is the end of civilization if anyone tolerates that kind of domestic terrorism. And the party is just lost right now. But my caution is that it's a mistake to underestimate the Democratic Party, because I saw them revive. You saw them revive in the Clinton era. I was on the air when Clinton was running for office. In 1992, and I warned people that he represented the worst of my baby boomer generation, that he was the worst of it, and they, claimed New Democrat, and they, of course, back then they had the dominant media they still controlled the dominant media. Rush Limbaugh had only been on the air for about 3 years, so. Yeah, it's a very different era now. They don't control the conversation. So I'm very hopeful. Now, the interesting question is, what will my party do to what will the truly patriotic Democrats, if there are any left at the higher level, and I'm sad to say I question that, but what will they do to reclaim the party so that it has a place at the table as a pro-American, pro-family, under God party?
I think it has to be somebody new that doesn't have a track record of being so far left that they just decide at the last minute they're going to go to the center, because nobody's going to believe that, because their track record shows they're very out there. They're radical left. So somebody new. somebody new has to come to the scene. It's not Gavin Newsom. He can't shake California. He can't shake the nonsense that he's done. I look at the Democratic bullpen and I go, there's nobody in there that you can believe that would change.
No, it's you look at the Republican Party. It has the most wonderful bench. I mean, it's like the Yankees of the old days, where anyone on the bench, a team taken from the bench, could win the World Series. I mean, it was that strong, and most legendary teams are like that. The Republicans are like that. The Democrats, it's pathetic. It is pathetic. But look, the Lord said, "I put before you life and death. Choose life." That's not just about abortion. That's about life, marriage, family, strength, honoring men, honoring women, have a strong military, because in ancient times, if you didn't have strong men, your tribe, your village, wouldn't survive. So it's about all the things that create life, that make life. My party has chosen death for a long time now. It has chosen death. And so the fact that it's had its inner substance eaten out. That's a shell of a party now. Don't you agree, Perry? It's a shell of a party. Well, that's because it chose death. And the Republicans have chosen life. And you can tell, and you're looking at the two parties, you can tell. God will not be mocked.
Yeah. Yeah. Because my question was to you was, isn't this very spiritual, what's happening? It's being played out in culture and it's being played out in politics. But at the end of the day, it's very spiritual. You don't break God's laws break you.
Oh, so true. Yes, so true. I mean, you and I have talked about for some time about political revival could have spiritual revival right behind it because they're related. When people wake up to the fact of the lie, not just that they've been lied to, but that there is a lie, there is a condition of lie, untruth in this world. And they wake up and represent that the Democratic Party represents that. They see that the Democratic Party represents that, as I say, the party of death, which, the lie. Well, they start questioning what is true. What is true? What is reality? What is this thing we call life? How does this work? How does marriage work? Who is a woman? Who is a man? What is this? Well, the Bible shows the way. Mm-hmm. The churches and God's church and God's people, as I say in the seminar, God's church and God's people are the way back. They're the way back, and so that leads to revival.
All right, let me take another break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, Bob has really put together something here that I think is a great tool. You can use it, maybe run it in your Sunday school class, run it as a group, run it in your group, share it with people. It's at a website called gen2project.org. There's a picture of the landing page. 90 seconds dealing with dating, courting, marrying, parenting, all wrapped up as it relates to today's culture. And that's the key. How does the Bible address today's culture? Check it out. gen2project.org. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Bob Justice with us. Always fun to have him because you never know what he's going to say.
And how many years have we been doing this, Perry?
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. I only watched a few moments of your seminar, but I quickly come to the conclusion. We're in the middle of doing something here at the Dove that is long overdue, and we decided to bite the bullet and do it, and that is to upgrade the building to make it more efficient. We're right in the middle of a major renovation of the building. We're actually putting insulation and heating and air in. Can you imagine that?
Well, I'll put a check in the mail to do my part. That's wonderful, Perry. Really wonderful.
But when
look, the Dove. The Dove has been such a blessing to the Southern Oregon, and now I know you're spreading beyond. But when I think of witnessing what you've achieved, 35 years, Perry. It seems it's hard to imagine, but I listened to the Dove when I lived there for years, and you had me on. I had you on my old show. And then, I've just watched the growth. I've watched what's happened with the Dove. The profound impact of trying to explain what's happening in this country politically and culturally from a biblical perspective to reach our brothers and sisters in Christ, to reach our leadership, to reach people who are not believers yet, but are wandering, seeking, and to try to help them put the current political and cultural reality in some context that can give them hope, ultimate hope, which is the important one, eternal hope, but hope that we could turn the country around, hope that we could return to God's call to choose life, to choose the better way. And this station and all you've achieved, radio and then becoming television and simulcasting, represents that pushback, which in my opinion has led to where we are now, because what's happening with Trump is a true effort to take back our country and return to the under God America that our founders created and envisioned would impact the world. And it's right. It's people like you, Perry, who've stuck to it all these years, and ministries like the Dove that have contributed hugely to that fight. So God bless you, brother. That's what I can say.
Thank you. We're in a spring boost time here. We're asking people to help us. I just want to set the record straight. It's really not me, and I'm not trying to be super humble here. What I'm saying is that it's a team of people, a great board of directors. We're all leaning and pushing in the same direction with the same purpose.
And all the people who have written the little and big checks over the years. I know, Perry. I've witnessed it. Yeah. I know how true what you just said is. But as I said the last time you interviewed me, we appreciate your leadership, Perry, very much.
Thank you. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, we're 32% of our goal. Our goal is $129,000 to help facilitate the changing. Most of our construction that's going on has been budgeted, and we have set aside to make the hard part of the construction. But as you well know that during these times, one thing leads to another. You fix the wall and you got to move a plug and things you weren't counting. But part of it is we have to literally put some better equipment into the new facility. So we don't want to put new wine in old wineskins. So we have a goal of about $129,000. We're about 32% there. So over the next couple of weeks, we're asking people to prayerfully consider supporting us. And you can do it by going online at theDove.us or call us at 541-776-5368. And I've always said, Bob, don't take from your church, don't take from any other ministry the Lord has you involved in. But if you want to partner with the Dove and impact the culture, impact families, we're doing it in a way that only heaven will reveal. We don't know who, we don't see the audience. We don't know what's going on. But all of a sudden we get the letter, we get the email, we get the phone call. And it's from all over the place and how the Dove is impacting their lives. So think about that, pray about that. And I was thinking, when you were on the talk radio network there for years, jabbing away, and I'd be listening to you, and I'd be throwing rocks at my radio saying, "What did you just say?" Anyway, and I remember you used to come in. You actually physically came in when we were just radio there for quite a while, obviously many years.
Oh yeah, and, I remember.
Gosh, I had a hard time getting you to stop.
Well, I have to say before I lose the thought, I wanted to say that two things. One, when I worked, I remember you used to say when I worked there that the rule of thumb was a huge percentage of listeners to Christian radio, TV are seekers. So talk about an evangelism outreach. It is spectacular. And I was affected by many great figures, Dr. D. James Kennedy, Adrian Rogers, and many, many others I was blessed by Christian media. The other thing I just wanted to say regarding your raising funds, it's so important that the foundation be strong. The Dove has done, I mean, when I think of witnessing over these many years, the growing outreach, it's just been spectacular. Well, when you're extending your reach, your footing needs to be strong. Your foundation needs to be strong. And what you're talking about, as I hear you, I mean, it's so essential to make sure that the base of operations in Southern Oregon, in Medford, is strong and capable of maintaining all the outer elements that make the Dove such a powerful outreach.
Well, that's exactly what this is about. We're actually fortifying the building after 11 years here. We're putting in, if you can imagine, soundproofing for the first time. There's a picture.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
There's a picture of it. We're right in the middle.
Been there many times.
Yeah. We're going to actually put in some proper air conditioning because a lot of time in the hottest summer we have to let the staff go home early. So to your point, we're taking the foundation of what we do and fortifying it so we can do more. And part of that is we have to upgrade some equipment. Equipment today is just so expensive. Wow. So pray about it. Call 541-776-5368 or online at theDove.us. Bob, good to see you. I'm glad you did this project. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out his project, gen2project.org. There's a picture of that landing page. Watch the video yourself and share it.
I want to. Yeah, I want to thank iMainstream.com for their amazing work to get it up quickly for this show, because this is the debut of it, Perry. So thank you very much.
Good.
For taking the time, especially now.
Okay.
For do this.
Thanks, buddy. Remember where your home is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See you later.
Take care.